we need to go into an executive session, but before we do that, we want to do the first portion of the superintendent's report, which is student recognition. Tonight we welcome Allison Pasco with us, and also our March Buccaneers director, Scott Ciesla. I'd like to read a certificate from the Board of Education, and then ask Allie to come up for a photo. Certificate of Recognition, Oswego City School District. The Oswego City School District Superintendent of Schools and Board of Education recognize Allison Pasco in recognition of your induction into the U.S. Army All-American Marching Band. Your hard work and dedication resulted in your success and has brought recognition to you, the Oswego City School District Music Program, the Oswego City School District.
Could I have a motion from the board to return to regular session? Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, Dr. Eli Jones was asked to speak to the board. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed the sign-up time. I just wanted to invite everyone and anyone to Layton's Veterans Day honorary celebration. So if you know of anybody in the community, we think it's really important for our students to be able to recognize community members, you know, as the veterans that they are, so that we can thank them. So that's all.
I heard it's great.
Oh, thank you. Starts at 9:15, but if we could have veterans there about 9 o'clock, we can get the veterans situated.
On Thursday?
Yes, Thursday. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah.
Got your back, sweetie.
9 a.m. Layton School.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Well, Joe's in my head. Thank you.
Dr. Dewey?
Yeah, a few more things under the superintendent's report before we get into the meeting. I know, this might be something.
Can you hear him now?
How's that?
Yeah, that's how you go.
Calling on you to do a presentation.
That's good.
Right?
No, I'm good, really, I promise.
Is that better?
Yeah.
A little bit?
No.
All right, I'll talk closer to the mic.
Teacher voice.
Yeah. I want to just go through a few announcements quickly and then talk about some changes we're going to make to the structure of the board meeting moving forward. But before I do that, I want to again congratulate Allison Pasco for her great accomplishment and accomplishment of our music program. I also wanted to say publicly, for those of you that don't know and haven't heard about it or read the paper, that our girls varsity volleyball team beat James DeWitt, which is really an amazing thing at Fayetteville Manlius on Saturday night to win the Section 3 championships, and now they're going to move on to regional and states and take the whole thing. So that's better. And for those of you that are free, the boys are going to be playing tomorrow night at Fayetteville Manlius against Central Square for the same Section 3 championship. And that game is at 7:30 at FM. Also, I wanted to point out for those of you that haven't seen it and who don't watch WBUC regularly, that as I mentioned in the last board meeting, I'm moving a little bit away from print media. I've been writing a monthly column in the Palladium Times about our district and events in education and current trends in education. And although I'm still going to continue to write columns for the Palladium Times occasionally, we're moving to a different medium. And we just recorded, with the help of Matt Bach and WBUC and the talented students at Oswego High School, the first version of what we call a Around Town segment with Dane and Dean. Dane Richardson is going to be the host of that with me every month. And it really, really turned out great. And I know I don't have to brag about WBUC, but Matt's doing a great job carrying on the torch from Jamie and others before him. The student talent that we have at Oswego High School is amazing. If you watch Channel 16, you can see that segment run periodically. The first portion of it is kind of a conversation between Dane and myself about current topics in our district. This month we're focusing on the story behind our current state of our budget, the finances of our district. Then we talk about the capital project, and then they move in and out of the interview, where it's really more of a conversation, and show snapshots of the different areas of concern in our 7 buildings. to kind of send the message to the community that the capital project, the potential capital project, isn't all about athletics and facilities around athletics. Really important, we're excited about them, I think it generates a lot of interest, but what we're most obligated to do is keep our buildings great, healthy and safe and in good condition for our students, and the job does a great, that segment does a great job of doing that. Then we pass off to other reporters from WBUC who show a segment on each of the schools, and I thought that was just, the whole thing surpassed my expectation. We're just excited about it. Not only is it on the superintendent's page on our new website, but it's also on Facebook, and it will continue to live on WBUC. And now, I'd like to invite Lisa Marie Carter. Lisa Marie Carter is the District's Director of Special Educational Services, and I've asked her to do a presentation tonight, not only on the whole CSE process and the CPSE process, but also to talk a little bit about the parts of the board agenda every month that there's some obligation of the board to approve. And so you have a better sense of the things that you're being asked to do from meeting to meeting. I saw Lisa's presentation. It's going to be brief and informative, and I'd like to introduce Lisa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So I started at the end of July, and it's been wonderful since starting. But I'm really excited to share with you some information around the CSE and the board, kind of how that works together. Sometimes it's a little bit fuzzy. So I've prepared a presentation for you, also giving you the slides as well. And certainly willing to be able to answer any questions as they may be needed. Sure. Is that better?
That is fine.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so as an entry point, just because different people have different experiences with special education, I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the process, which can be cumbersome and can appear very timely, and it is, and it's intentional. So the process begins really with that initial referral to CSE, and so that may be a teacher referring a student after interventions haven't quite been effective, or it might be a parent referring a student to committee for concerns that they may have. Upon the receipt of the referral, it's reviewed, and an initial individual evaluation is done, and it's pretty comprehensive. It includes psychological, it includes if there's OT or PT concerns, fine or gross motor concerns, there's speech concerns, it's a review of the medical history, it includes lots of different components, but the purpose behind that is to really understand what's going on for the child and determine, is there something impacting their eligibility to continue to progress, in terms of eligibility for education, but progression in curriculum. The goal of special education is always around progression in curriculum. So then we come to the initial eligibility determination meeting, and that's a meeting which is a CSE meeting, a committee on special education. And at that meeting, we're looking at all those evaluations that were done, we're listening to the parent concerns or the school concerns, collaborating a lot with families. This is a really collaborative process, it's intended to be that way. And then determining, do students qualify under one of the disability categories? Do they need specially designed instruction and special education supports to access and progress within the curriculum? Our requirement is to ensure students have free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. So we're always looking for that threshold. If a student is determined to be eligible, an individualized education program is developed, and that's really looking at what the student needs to continue to make that progress and access. And then annually, we have a meeting called an annual review. Every 3 years, the committee is required to do another evaluation to determine, does the student continue to need, do they meet that threshold of continuing to need special education supports and services to continue progression in the curriculum. There are some timelines that are written into the regulations for us to adhere to, and so I put them here just as a point of reference for you. So you can see kind of how that process plays out. That initial evaluation requires a parent consent, so they have to physically sign, saying, yes, I agree for you to do testing for my child. That's really important for parents because they may say, I think there's some concerns, but if they don't sign a consent saying, yes, you can test them, we really can't go forward. We are kind of stuck. So we work very closely with parents to make sure that that happens. But really within 60 days of their signing, saying, yes, you can evaluate my child, we have an obligation as a district to arrange for appropriate special education programs and services, unless there's not a need. But we have to meet on that child, and we've made sure we kept to those timelines for you. CPSE is Committee on Preschool Special Education. Rules are a little bit different there. They have 30 days. And the reason is, they're younger. These are little kids, sometimes aren't in programs. And so we have to look at those pieces. And then services start either July, September, or January in accordance with the start date of the programs. You might be asking, who's on this magical CSE? There's a lot of people, and it's intentional. Well, multidisciplinary team. I'm sorry, my keeps going on. Parents are key, first and foremost. Parents have to be there. We need to partner with parents. Students as appropriate. Middle school, high school kids are often at their meetings. Elementary kids sometimes will come to their meetings, and that's important too, because they have to be able to tell us how things are going for them. The district representative qualified to provide or supervise special education, usually that's a chairperson, me. A physician, if a parent requests a physician, sometimes there's really extenuating circumstances and a parent might say, we need a physician here. That has not been my experience here in Oswego yet. Doesn't mean it won't be, but it hasn't been as of yet. If a parent asks, the regulations indicate another parent member. Some parents are just, schools, this is an intimidating meeting. So some people will say, you know what, somebody that knows this, can you come with me and help me navigate this land? So welcome, come on. Regular education teacher, audit, general education teacher, and special education teacher, and then the school psychologist who can share their information. The difference between a subcommittee, which you will often see on board reports, and in the full CSE, is often the chairperson. But in the CSE, the subcommittee rules, physicians are not there. So if a physician was being requested, that would be a meeting held by a CSE. Recommendation-wise, a subcommittee CSE is not allowed to do these three things. So they're not allowed to place, and these are often building-led meetings, which is intentional in the regulations. They're not allowed to place in a special class. They're not allowed to place outside the school's students' school of attendance. And this school was primarily students with disabilities, so this would be a MOCES placement. We were looking at those pieces. CPSE membership, pretty similar to the other membership. The exceptions there are the Department of Health Early Intervention Program and the participation from the county.
Could you give an example of the type of child, the age and type of child that there might be a committee, a primary special education meeting for? And when you say
Preschool?
When you say Department of Health Early Intervention Program, what does that mean?
Sure. So a preschool student who maybe is having some real difficulty with communication. That's often what we see at the 3-year-old age. At 3 years old, sometimes kids have difficulty with articulation, being what we call intelligible, so really being able to be understood as they're speaking. And through either the parent referral or coming to the table, those conversations will come out and we'll start looking into those services that might be necessary. As the student's getting ready to transition, as they get a little bit older, they're looking to transition from early intervention programs, the younger supports, into school-age programming or into preschool programming. And that would be a time where the student would, somebody from the Department of Health Early Intervention. Those services are provided to students when they go to the homes or they go to different community centers, sometimes daycares for the younger children.
So, for example, a child who has a diagnosis of some type of disability at birth, at some point will access services that they're eligible for in New York State. And New York State's a great place to have a disability.
It is.
So those services and those agencies funnel that information to us so we know who those children are that we need, that are our kids as they're coming up. Exactly. We don't have to go out and start looking for students. The information is funneled to us by parents and agencies.
So children who have been receiving, good point, thank you, Dr. Pugh. Kids who have been receiving services often will come to us because somebody has called and said, hey, just a heads up, Johnny is turning 5 and he has a service and has a support. They've already been through our district protocols, and so we've already qualified them under preschool. As they transition to school age, there's a requirement of the Committee on Special Education, which is now a school age committee, to look at our 13 disability categories and determine do they continue to qualify under one of our 13 disability categories as a student with a disability? The thresholds for preschool and for school age are slightly different because kids are not in school in preschool. Usually, they might be in preschool, but in early intervention, they wouldn't be in school per se. So there are different thresholds, and it's a discrepancy model. This is access to the curriculum and progression within the curriculum.
And just to go back to something you said earlier, the reevaluation, that has to happen every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
That full comprehensive evaluation.
It's a comprehensive evaluation. Sometimes on occasion, it's a record review, just depending on who the child is and what the needs are. The regulations allow for a record review. It's not often in my experience that we utilize those, but sometimes we do, especially if the child's profile has really not changed at all over several years, and to put a child through more testing is going to be detrimental to their progress, or if they're a student with substantial anxiety per se and has a really hard time with testing, and that's just not a situation that's best meeting their needs. The psychologist would then write a report, share their findings, do some observations, and utilize other mechanisms to get a really nice view of the child. Yeah.
That's probably right.
Can I answer your question, Paula?
Yes, thank you.
So the question really around what is the board's role in implementing, and I'm referencing here our board policy 7613. So the 3 bullets that are really in that policy is around establishment of a committee on special education, a committee on preschool special education, as well as subcommittees. That was done at the reorganization meeting in July. The review of the recommendations of the city and the CSE rather, and a reach for special education programs and services. That's what you hired me for. So that is actually where the board report comes in. This month's board report is roughly 30 pages long, so it's been a busy month, as you can see. But you'll see in a minute, I'm going to share with you kind of the walkthrough of that board report for you. And then notifying a parent or guardian of its action in accordance with laws. And there's a form that our office sends out after the board meeting that goes out there too. So I've got that in here for you as well. Some of the meetings you might see on the board report, you'll see committee/reason. You might see section 504. That's actually not a committee on special education meeting. It's part of the civil rights law. But section 504 does go through a committee, and so this becomes part of the board report. Dr. Duffy runs those meetings, but you will see section 504 meetings, and their annual reviews as well. You might see an amendment to a meeting that's when a parent has given written consent to make an adjustment to the IEP without a meeting. We always ask for consent from the parent. It's written, not just a verbal consent of I agree to X, Y, or Z, but written as well. Sometimes you'll see a student transfer student agreement, no meeting. The student has transferred it, we've adopted the IEP. We have 30 days to implement that, to get the services and supports up to date. And we can hold a meeting within 30 days for those children, but we have to get them started in school ASAP. So we want to get them in, adopt their IEP, and then come back to the table. An annual review, we talked about that. Program reviews you'll often see for a variety of purposes. Oftentimes the purpose doesn't appear to have any change on the board report actually. Sometimes it's a testing accommodation that's added, or a program accommodation that the team has found works really well with the child, or we noticed something in the IEP that was a clerical error. I mean, it's clearly reflects something different, and so that's where the program review might come in. But it's always around making sure parents are fully aware and transparency is important. Manifestation determinations, those happen when support choices are made by a student, and so we come to the table and determine is what happened connected to their disability, and if so, students have procedural safeguards where they are not supposed to be disciplined for things related to their disability, directly and substantially related to their disability.
So
we have to tackle that.
a manifestation meeting would precede a superintendent's hearing. So if a child with an IEP or disability is suspended from school, there first must be a manifestation meeting to determine if the child, something about the child contributed to the behavior. And then it's determined after that whether or not the superintendent's hearing proceeds or not.
The penalty. Yep.
And is it all the same people that you said earlier who would be at this manifestation? Like how?
That would be the participants in the superintendent's hearing, principal, Bob Duffy, the parent, a parent representative, and then they would convene and determine if the behavior was somehow caused by the disability.
So that you,
I am there. Those meetings I chair. The other time you might have manifestation determination is a series of suspensions. We're holding them, the law says after 10 days, we're holding them after 8 because we want to be ahead of the game and really looking at kids proactively rather than reactively. And so that's another time when you read some manifestation determination. If we notice kids are starting to get into some trouble here and there, we're looking at that data very frequently. The initial eligibility meeting is that meeting I was just referring to, that beginning part of the process, does the child qualify or not? And then the reevaluation meeting is the other meeting. This is actually a screenshot of your last board report. So what you can see here is you don't have the student's name for confidentiality of the child. But you do have information in terms of when the meeting happened, the board date, the type of meeting, so Committee on Special Education, transfer student, no meeting. So this was a student in the top here that transferred in. Student was classified, and then the disability for that child was a learning disability. And then you can see there the programming recommendations. So integrated co-teaching, and it's ELA, it's math, and then a 15-to-1 program for global studies. The 15-to-1 program is a little bit more of a prioritized curriculum. Children who have a little bit of a learning disability, who might need just some really specialized instruction in that area. The second one down is a preschool student with a disability. That was a student who had, it was like an annual review there. It was actually amended. And they have special ed itinerant services, which is that person that might go to the house at different points. Or it's a teacher who might go to different preschools. They're not based in one classroom. They also have speech and language and physical therapy. And the BOE info, the Board of Info, you'll see the top one says Program for Learning Disability. It's a program for student learning disability. You'll see that language start to shift as we go through. I believe in making sure it reflects the student in there. So it's not a program for a learning disability, it's a program for this student who has a learning disability. So we're going to be changing that language. And then you see the bottom part is a preschool student with a disability, and it just lists out the bullets of what those services are for them. This is a copy of the board letter that goes home after the board meeting. This is just one for a subcommittee. I didn't print the other one, but if it were full committee, it would just say Committee on Special Education. And parents are provided with procedural safeguards with meetings as well. They're required to be provided them once a year. We are working to make sure that that happens more than once a year. I'd rather give it to them more frequently than less. Any questions? I hope it was helpful. As you're reviewing the information, if you have any questions, certainly that's after Q. I know, and I'm happy to answer them.
You know, I was thinking, Lisa, that they may not understand the process that goes into, before we label a child or we put them through this process, our site-based team meets, and, you know, by law, we have to attempt to meet the child's needs and prove we did that before we go through this process. So it's very complicated if you're not used to it.
It's complicated intentionally, not to make it as a barrier for families by any sense, but it's complicated because when we're saying a student with disabilities, it's a really strong recommendation, and it's got lifelong implications for a child, and so it's a really delicate decision to make. And so you're absolutely right. There's a lot of pre-work that goes in even before I come into play. And some of those things are...
Well, like teachers have to prove that they have met with this group of people that meet once every couple of weeks on children that might be acting up in class, or they're not, they're frustrated. And that whole team meets around that one child, and they try to develop strategies to support success of the child outside of this.
Yeah.
So that all has to be done before we start this.
We have to exhaust every effort in a general education environment by by using the response intervention process, have different tiers of intervention, classroom-based intervention, then the next level of intervention might be working with an AIS math teacher with a little more level of intensity, and then those levels continue to increase until you get to the point where there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of attempts have been made at leveling the playing field within the general education environment before we would ever get to that. So that's a good point.
I just wanted.
No, I appreciate that, because you're absolutely right. The school-based intervention teams are meeting well ahead of, our goal is always to be ahead of parent concern. We want to be, I don't want a parent telling me, hey, I have a concern when I've been teaching the child for 10 weeks. I want the teacher to say, hey, there's a concern, so we're ahead of the game. And that's where the school-based intervention team, data teams have been meeting frequently in all of the buildings. I'm sure Carrie can speak to that a little bit more, but data teams have been meeting in all of the buildings to really look at kids and dive into those kids, create action plans around them, strategic steps to really support kids before any of this even starts. Sometimes you do get a letter from a parent that says, hey, I am concerned about X, Y, or Z, and the classroom's not seeing that. It's a great conversation starter. Because, it's just important to have that communication line, but absolutely.
Are most of the kids taught, is it taught mostly in elementary school?
We attempt to.
So that when by the time they get to middle school
Yeah.
or high school, they're already...
I would say many of the meetings I've been chairing since coming to Oswego have been elementary meetings. Of course, it's hard to kind of quantify that because there's 5 elementary buildings and 2 upper buildings too. But I think a large number, I can certainly pull those percentages for you if you'd like, in terms of where kids are initially identified, but I think it is largely taught at the elementary school. The elementary teachers are having the kids all day long and they're really able to dive in there and say, something's up, what's going on here? Any other questions? Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was great.
The last thing I want to talk about before we go into the regular meeting, the rest of the regular meeting, this is going to look unusual. She's a specialist, she's not a technology person.
I did that.
Oh, okay. I wanted to point out for the audience that we're going to be trying a different format for our meetings moving forward. The board has been having some conversations about the efficiency of our committee system. And as you know, originally, several years ago, probably 8 or 10 years ago, the district moved to a committee system format. The intent of that committee system format was that the first meeting of the month would be sharing information based on the 3 areas of our regular agenda: curriculum, personnel, and finance. And then there's a pre-committee meeting with committees of the board in advance of that meeting, so that members of the board who sit on those committees are aware of the things coming through the agenda. Our executive directors share those portions of the agenda. There's an opportunity for the audience to ask questions. And then the second meeting of the month, the intent was that those same agenda items would resurface 2 weeks later for action by the board. But what we found over time is that the district moves on without us. We have to continue to approve personnel matters. We have to continue to conduct the business of the board and our district. And so that format has become a little lopsided because we started presenting the committee in the first meeting of the month and then approving everything. And then in the second meeting, there was no committee meeting, and there was a brand new agenda, and there hadn't been any conversation, not with the board committees, but also no opportunity for the community to hear those things in advance. So we're going to move to a different format and see how this works out. Every meeting will have an element of committee and also the approval of the agenda items. So instead of having Karen reading a lot of the resolutions formally, our executive directors will be presenting the information on the agenda similar to what we do in the first meeting of the month. There will be opportunity for comment from the audience, and then soon after that presentation of that agenda item, Karen will ask for a motion, and those items will be approved. So we're not going to hold on to agenda items for the second meeting when there's already been conversation. The pre-committee meetings will still start. There'll be some restructuring of some pre-committee meetings because typically the board president and superintendent meet on the Friday before each meeting to do what we call an agenda review. We're going to try to incorporate the agenda review with our pre-committee meetings, but that would require the president to sit on all 3 of those required committees. So we're going to do some tweaking, and Karen and I have been working on that. We'll present it to the board shortly, and then the new committees will be approved at the next meeting. But we're going to give it a shot tonight. So you're going to hear the executive directors presenting the agenda items, and other than a retirement where there's some immediate recognition read by Karen, Karen will simply ask for any questions, and then if Jen had a question, for example, she can ask that question in an open meeting, and either the executive director or I, or a pre-committee member can answer that question, and then shortly after that, Karen will ask for a motion. So we're going to give it a shot.
All set to move on? Dr. Buick?
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. A is minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of October 17th. B is the special education report. And C is the Treasury's consolidated report for September. If I could have a motion? Tom? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we'll move to curriculum with Carrie Plass. Okay, A is approval of the 2017-2018 U.S. Army All-American Marching Band. This is permission to allow Allison Pasco, that you just recognized, travel to San Antonio, Texas, to be part of a representative in the Army All-American Marching Band. The days from December 31st through January 8th. She will be absent from school on those dates, so it's permission for her to be excused. She will make up the work missed. She really only misses January 2nd to January 5th. Those are the dates that we are in school while she's gone. There's no cost to the district. Any questions? Next item. Will I do all 3? Okay. If I could have a motion for that resolution? Sam?
Second.
Jim? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, B is for the girls hockey for an overnight trip. They will be traveling on November 21st, 2017 to play a game against Messina. And then they will spend the night in Messina and then play Salmon River the next day, which is Wednesday, 22nd. There is no school. They'll be returning back on that same day. The cost for the track will be for transportation, lodging for the 2 coaches and the 1 bus driver. Any questions? Could I have a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You didn't ask a question?
You did.
Carrie did.
Missed it.
I did.
Well, this new format's got me on. No, the only question I have is, I noticed that we're going to be paying for overnight lodging for coaches and for the bus driver.
Correct.
For both this girls and for the boys. Is there, where are those monies coming from?
That's
What account are they in?
out of the athletic budget.
Is that for Rhonda?
Yes, athletic budget and travel expense.
For travel, for coaches and transportation.
So there's an account line for travel expenses?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nancy's not here, so we're just going to say yes to everything. Yeah, we have money for that. There's a line for that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, C is varsity boys hockey to attend 2017 High School Winter Classic Jamboree. The boys will be traveling to Buffalo, New York on December 27th through the 29th, so they will not miss school. And the cost the only cost for the district will be transportation and lodging for the coaches and the bus driver again. As presented. Any questions?
Any questions, Nancy?
You're in my bad ear, Karen.
Well, does it matter? I don't know that it matters or not. It just says for coaches, doesn't say the bus driver. Do I have to do that?
That I believe the bus driver is going to need lodging also, correct? It doesn't say in the,
They're going to drop off, and then they're going to be gone. The parents go up to
them, with them, so that like the kids take the parents take the kids, and then they're responsible for the kids in the hotels, and then they're gonna transport them home.
Parents.
Yeah.
Oh, the parents are bringing them
So
home.
there's no district transportation for this one?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Well, to bring them there, but we
Yes.
take the bus
Right,
driver.
doesn't have to stay over there.
Yep.
Okay, thanks,
Good
I
question.
didn't.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda is personnel with Heidi Sweeney.
A is a professional staff retirement. Lee Lorian, who's a high school math teacher, has served the students and staff of the district since March 14, 1988, and is retiring effective January 26, 2018.
Any questions?
Karen, will you read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas Lee Lorian has served the students and staff of this school district as a mathematics teacher for the period March 14, 1988 to the present, and has been the most responsible, conscientious, and dedicated staff member in service to the school district, now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education of the Oswego City School District hereby acknowledge the faithful service of Mr. Lorian upon accepting his resignation for the purpose of retirement effective January 26, 2018, and we express our grateful appreciation to him. Could I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for reading that resolution, and I do think it's important, I don't bring it up, but I do think it's important that when people do retire from our district, that we do take that extra moment to recognize when they began, when they ended, and for their dedication. Thank you.
Yeah, that's important. We're going to continue to do that.
I like that.
The executive director will, in a conversational way, talk about the item, but Karen will always read the resolution like we always have, and all those people will be invited back in June for our retiree recognition.
B, professional staff recommendations, resignations. Rory Malone, who was a co-assistant for student activities at the middle school, and Laura DeBernie, who was an elementary teacher regular sub at Minetta. And their effective dates are listed 10/9 for Rory and 10/23 for Laura.
Any discussion?
Well, maybe, I know that they do a lot, I know that they do a lot, Rory, at the middle school, so will there be another teacher stepping into that?
Yes.
Assistant position?
Yeah, well, Mary Beth will request that we post this typically tomorrow after all of the board action has been taken. I get a flurry of emails that, okay, now that this is official, can we post for this position? Okay. Great, thank you.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
C, professional staff recommendation, teacher tenure for Taylor Costello, elementary teacher at KPS, Michelle Peterson, elementary teacher at KPS, and Brian Smith, special education teacher here at KPS. And their effective dates are listed. Do you have any questions about tenure recommendation?
I did want to make a comment about that. Historically, our district has not asked teachers to come to the board meetings when they receive tenure. However, I talked last year about the importance of tenure, and that, receiving tenure in the Oswego City School District is a tremendous honor. So moving forward, we're going to ask teachers who receive tenure to come to the board meeting for their tenure appointment. And we'll ask Taylor, Michelle, and Brian to come to the next board meeting to be recognized, because after their appointment to work in our district with our kids, the reception of tenure is the most important event in their career. So we're going to change that practice moving forward. Yeah.
Not in trouble, but come next time.
Yeah.
Several meetings ago, we were doing tenure and they were like 4 months out.
Yes. Good question, Sam. Typically, we act on a September tenure in June, and then but they don't actually receive tenure until they work the first year of their the first day of their 5th year. Now that we have a 4-year probation. But Taylor Costello and Michelle Peterson's paperwork wasn't in and they received their tenure already, it happens naturally.
They would have got by a shot.
Exactly.
Yes.
But as a matter of formality, we need to recognize that they received tenure, appoint them to tenure at the board meeting, and then do a recognition of them, which will start at the next meeting. Yep.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
D, professional staff recommendation, leave of absence for Michelle Gorham, who is an art teacher at Layton School. She is extending her maternity leave. She has been out since the beginning of the school year.
Any discussion? Could I have a motion?
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
E, professional staff recommendation, probationary position. Upon the presentation and recommendation, we present Mary Ann Kent for an elementary education position at Minetto. Just to explain a little bit, sometimes when we have leaves of absence and then probationary positions become open within the same building or sometimes between buildings within the district, you might see a position move around. So this is actually Dave Gaffey's probationary position that opened up after we accepted his resignation for 4th grade. We had a few leaves of absence already in place at Minetto. Mary Ann is a teacher at the 5th grade level and has been in her class since the start of the school year. So on paper, we're moving her into Dave's probationary position. We're not moving her physically away from her kids. And then we're shifting a leave of absence that she was filling to the 4th grade position. And hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have filled the 4th grade leave of absence position that Laura Taverni's resignation created before that. So we'll have that situation. So we've had a gentleman in for the last few weeks, and he's been doing a great job with the kids. While we were looking through our OLAS applications, our sub list to see if there was anyone interested, Jenny Sullivan did do some interviews and has someone she would like to move into this position who was already being appointed as a per diem sub tonight. So she will be appointed as a per diem sub, but just for the timing, sometimes we get information on Monday or Tuesday and the board meeting's Tuesday night. So you'll see that recommendation coming in the next meeting. But this new teacher will be filling that role as of tomorrow. As a per diem sub until you act on the appointment, and then she'll go into the next
She'll get appointed as a regular, so, yeah. Yeah.
But the gentleman who's in there now is staying there as the bridge from...
Yes.
So
Through the next couple of days to bring everybody up to speed. They've been very supportive of that class. We certainly don't, we want to provide any support for our kids as they're moving through this, one teacher leaving, the next teacher leaving.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
F, professional staff recommendations, regular substitutes. We have Phyllis Mazuka being appointed into a level 3 teaching assistant position at the middle school. This really comes about because of the new clause in the OCTA contract. If you remember, we explained that before this new piece in the OCTA contract, TAs took a leave of absence. There was really no way to fill their position as a regular sub with the same kinds of benefits that a long-term sub teacher would receive. So Phyllis has actually been filling this role as a per diem TA since the beginning of the school year, and now we're able to move her into a more appropriate title as teaching assistant as a regular substitute.
Any discussion? May I have a motion?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
G, extra compensatory recommendation, Amy Schutz, for an expansion of her 9-12 special ed team leader position that you had already approved earlier this school year into a 7-12 team leader position, also for special education. This supports our transition from middle school to high school and also allows her to then oversee all of the teaching assistants 7-12.
And also moves to our efforts to smooth the transition between 7, 8, and 9, 12 in a variety of areas.
Yes.
Special education certainly one of those.
So then, so before, she wasn't in charge of the teacher's aides, it was just, so I wasn't sure if the difference was that it was going from 9/12 to 7/12?
Yes.
Or if it was the difference between who she was,
Kind of both.
so it's both.
It's
both are
expanding both
expansion.
from 9-12 special education teachers. So now we're including 7-12 teachers and teaching assistants.
And just for a historical perspective, was there, because I know that we have brought back a lot of team leaders in the high school, and then this just got me thinking, because this was expanded to 7-12, have we brought back any, are there team leaders in the middle school level, or?
There was no special education team leader ever. There was never a special ed team leader at the middle school.
Okay.
But that's kind of why we're looking at this, and we're trying this out. We did draft a memorandum of agreement between OCTA and the superintendent to cover this as a trial to see how this transition support goes this school year. We absolutely recognize that we need to consider the team leader positions the middle school had previously. And I know that Dr. Blui and Mrs. Hero and I have been discussing how to bring that support back to them.
Okay, yeah. because
Next
that
round
definitely
of
falls-
budget bringbacks.
That would be
Yeah.
on the list to bring that back to them.
Yeah.
And then, so then does that mean, so then does Amy go back and forth between the two, like, does she split her, like, how does that work?
No, it's really kind of a supervisory, it's a supervisory teacher. It's a person who's in the trenches doing the job that has a high level of respect from administration and their colleagues. And they do administrative stuff, they guide and advise, they hold meetings. It's all outside of the regular teaching.
So she teaches as well?
Yes.
She teaches a full load as a teacher. And then this is on top of her time she spends doing that. And come the spring, I think we'll see more of her actually going to sit in on some of the transition meetings from the middle school to the high school, and potentially some of the 6th to 7th grade, she'll be able to give some input on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
H, extra compensatory recommendations for Mitchell Park School. As presented, we have a list of after-school support and homework teachers, and these will be on an as-needed basis.
Any questions? Could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I, extra compensatory recommendations for Kingsford Park School. As presented, we have a list of after-school homework club teachers, and again, on an as-needed basis.
Any questions? May I have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
J, extra compensatory recommendation for the varsity boys hockey. Fred Donabella is going to act as a volunteer for the winter athletic season.
Any questions? Motion, please.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
K, extra compensatory recommendation for the 17-18 middle school athletics. We have our girls 7 and 8 modified coaching appointments, basketball boys modified 8, and a volleyball girls modified volunteer coach in Eric Roby. There were some questions in some of the pre-committee. I think it's fantastic that Eric is volunteering this time because he is the boys varsity volleyball coach, and he's working with the girls modified program. I think specifically with Josh Carney, this would be his first official coaching appointment.
He's not happy.
Yep, not. And Ellen Dillon is a retiree, an OCTA retiree, and she's been a volleyball coach in the past.
So then, because that was my question too, because I wasn't on this committee, So Eric will be working mainly with Josh, not with Ellen, or?
I think with the whole program, but I think Josh was a volunteer. You may have seen him at some of the boys' volleyball
Yes, I was
games.
going to ask that too. So he volunteered to help Eric and
Yes,
Exactly.
and kind of vice versa.
Increased communication between different levels and,
which is great. I mean, it's proven that this sports program is pretty.
Helps with continuity and
Oh, yeah.
the volleyball program is so strong.
It's very strong. So I mean, they're a great model for, you know, a new coach, what athletic, you know, I just think that they do a great job. Thank you.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
L, extra compensatory recommendation for the 17-18 winter athletics. We have 2 volunteers, Devin Hutchison for girls varsity ice hockey and Robert Pratt for strength and conditioning.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. Can you call this something else? I mean, extra compensatory, does it sound like they're being compensated and they're not? And I see that there is a budget line item.
I just saw that, and I think that's just a carryover error from K. I think in the copy and paste in board docs,
Well,
it's not.
But even J has a line item for budget. So I guess
Oh, J, yep, I see that.
I don't know, I was just thinking, since I realize the stipend says volunteer, but I don't know. I thought.
And if, I really don't know why there's a budget line on there. Maybe simply because the winter athletics budget line got pulled forward for the particular sport, but certainly we can take that into consideration and maybe come up with some different phrasing.
It's really extracurricular volunteer recommendation. Yeah.
I just have a quick question on Jason. So is this just for, because I know he also helps out with basketball too. So does this cover both, or did we already approve him for basketball? I can't remember. We did, right?
Yeah, you approved him to work with the basketball players, but then there was more students that were interested. So I had him fill out another form to actually recognize that other students wanted to participate in what he was
All right,
doing.
that's what I was wondering, because when I read it, I was like, I know he's working with basketball kids. So
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that it was authentic to what he actually is going to be doing. So that's why that's the other video.
That's great. I mean, that's an awesome asset for us that our athletes in college. That's great.
Rhonda and I have actually had a lot of conversation. I should say she's been nagging me about getting strength and conditioning position back in the budget for next year to support all the athletics. So it's something we'll be talking about as we start to build the budget.
Could I have a motion, please? Second? Jim? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
N, support staff retirement for Gregory Gears, and I know Karen is going to read the resolution, but as some of these retirements are coming forward, I just want to stress the fantastic length of service that our employees and their dedication is just unbelievable. And Greg is going to be retiring effective February 4th, and if you haven't ever met Greg, he's so helpful and so supportive of our kids. It's wonderful to see.
And we're losing some key staff members, not only in the instructional ranks, but certainly in our support staff. And we've tried to show our recognition to them, certainly buildings and grounds, and technology folks for all the work that, not only that they did this summer, but that they always do. But the next two that you see and will vote on are particularly valuable. Greg Gears is a senior maintenance worker who is really the jack of all trades and knows where everything is in our district. So we're going to try to create a transition with Greg, with the person who replaces him, so that there's some mentoring and some preparation that helps. And the next one you're going to see, not just steal your thunder, Heidi, and then we're going to get to end for a minute, but I just need to point out that Sharon McCoy is the only clerical staff member that works with buildings and grounds at the warehouse. She's been a district employee since graduating from high school, 40 years. Will you read, Karen?
Yes. Whereas Gregory Gears has served the students and staff of this school district for the period June 20th, 1983 to the present and has been the most responsible, conscientious, and dedicated staff member in service to the school district. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education of the Oswego City School District hereby acknowledge the faithful service of Mr. Gears upon accepting his resignation for the purpose of retirement from the position of senior maintenance worker effective February 4th, 2018, and we express our grateful appreciation to him. If I could have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think you can read that.
Whereas Sharon McCoy has served the students and staff of the school district for the period September 1st, 1977 to the present and has been the most responsible, conscientious, and dedicated staff member in service to the school district. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education of the Oswego City School District hereby acknowledge the faithful service of Ms. McCoy upon accepting her resignation for the purpose of retirement from the position of typist effective December 30th, 2017, and we express our grateful appreciation to her. If I could have a motion?
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Karen, can I say a few words? I feel I have to weigh in on this because I had the privilege of working with both of these people for 8 years. Every year we have a lot of really valuable employees that retire from the civil service and teachers. But these two are really special because when you walk into a building at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the water's pouring through the ceiling, and you've got kids coming in a couple hours, it's awful nice to know you've got a guy who goes over the valve to shovel the water off. And Greg has been that guy for many, many years. He's going to be missed. And Sharon, I mean, she worked through with so many superintendents and so many superintendents of buildings and grounds. The last time the position came open, I told her that she should apply. I honestly think that she should run that department. She's going to be really good. So, sad to see him go, but I wish him the best of luck.
Support staff leaves of absence. As presented, Travis Bivens is moving into, or leaving a custodial worker position from the middle school. Tyler Broadwell at KPS and Tammy Martinez, school bus attendant at transportation. They're all serving in second title, so they can request a leave of absence while they're serving their probationary period in their new title.
Any questions? Motion, please.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then E, support staff probationary recommendation, Tammy Martinez as a school bus driver, transportation.
Any discussion? Motion, please. Katie? Second? Brian? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Q, support staff permanent recommendations, Kristen McMahon, school monitor, part-time at the high school, and Kateria Ramos, food service helper, part-time at Kingsford Park School.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And R, substitute and temporary employees, our usual round of sub-teachers, teaching assistants, cooks, and the list goes on.
I think I say now, I know that those of you that are in the Personnel Board Committee, we've talked an awful lot about our problems with substitutes, and we talked a little bit about at the pre-committee meeting, the efforts that Heidi and I have been putting forth to secure substitutes. Originally, we talked about building a partnership with SUNY Oswego, which we've done, in order to entice matriculated education majors in good standing in their junior or senior year to sub for us, and that we would facilitate the application process to bolster our level of subs in our district. Additionally, however, Heidi crafted a letter and it was sent to 18 colleges and universities because we recognize that SUNY Oswego is not the only school that's producing great teachers. And many of our children who are graduates of Oswego High School may be studying in the educational field in surrounding schools in our region, Western New York, Southern cater schools, and we know that they come home for Christmas break, spring break, and they're done in early May. So we've reached out to those colleges and universities as well to enhance and bolster our levels of highly qualified college students who are in a matriculated program to come back home and work for us as subs and make a little bit of money. And Heidi's been working very hard on that, and I appreciate that effort.
And do they have to apply online through that also?
Well, we also updated, Jamie and I worked together to update our, well, it's still a work in progress, but it's a lot better, our personnel page. So they don't necessarily, the link is right there, the application to be a sub-teacher, teaching assistant, that's all right there. And in the memo, I let them know that I would walk them through the process and I could come to their school if they would like me to and work with their education majors. Definitely SUNY Oswego and all of the local ones we've offered to go to on certain days, and my secretary would come with me and we would work out all the paperwork. We have had a couple people already send applications to these subs, which is great. They were both one junior, one senior.
That's a good question too. I was thinking along the same lines, and I saw, and I couldn't use out for you guys, but at ESM they had kind of a similar idea, but they come, bring their, and they do the on-site interview right then and there. So I don't know if
We've talked about doing recruitment events, but the problem is these are students in Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, and we're willing to go to them. If they want to help coordinate with Heidi and Carrie's offices or the superintendent's office to get an executive director and clerical support to go to Portland for the day and facilitate students walking through the application process, spend a day at Niagara, spend a day at Kenesha, spend a day at Albany, where our kids are, so that then when they come home, they're ready to hit the ground running. We approve them as subs, and while they're at school, and they don't have to come to us for a recruitment event. Just a different approach to show that we're reaching out to them.
But certainly if you are aware of our kids who are going to be coming home over the next few weeks and they have any interest in this, please just let me know, have them call me, I can meet them, and we can get their applications sorted out. Great ideas.
Thank you.
It's something that I brought up at the pre-committee meeting. Not all the board was there, I don't want to bring it up again. Yep. Just mention. We've settled contracts with two of our biggest bargaining units, building negotiations with the other two. But what I'm concerned about is our substitute custodians, our substitute bus drivers, our substitute teachers. Now, I'm not sure about the teachers. They have their own union, and I'm not sure with everybody getting a raise, if they got a raise, did they get the bump too?
We haven't bargained Octa 2 yet.
Okay, so
Typically, we bargain for them after Octa 7s.
Okay. But with our substitute custodians, there are many, many nights, and I'll guarantee you tonight, as an example, in one or two buildings in this district that are not being totally clean because they don't have enough subs to clean those buildings. We need to look at the salary of those custodians and the bus drivers. We do the bus drivers to other districts, Campbell, everyone else is paying more money than we are. And subbing is a difficult job, especially bus drivers and cleaners, because you're not doing the same thing every day, you're not going to the same area. You're here and there, drivers driving terrible weather. So I think it behooves the board and administration to look at those salaries and think about the justice.
Yeah, we've had some conversations at the cabinet level about the need to take a look at the starting salaries and the hourly rate for those employees that we can simply make adjustments to. And one is substitute cleaners, custodians, cafeteria workers, and bus drivers.
I think the custodial rate is under $9, over around $9.
Just about minimum wage.
Yeah. You go down the stewards and supervision. Well, we could do
Yep.
Could I have a motion, please?
move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is finance. In Nancy Squire's absence, Heidi Sweeney will be reading her resolutions.
A memorandum of understanding between the Oswego City School District and the Agribusiness Child Development. This is an agreement between the Agribusiness Child Development of Red Creek to to allow open communication for our 3 through 5 Head Start programs. It's really focused at our migrant families and students, and it's presented to you, and there's no cost to the school district.
Any questions? Motion, please.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
B, approval of the budget calendar. It was shared with you in your packets. Okay, good. And developed between Dr. Bui and Nancy for your consideration.
Any questions? Motion, please.
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
C, the 16-17 audited financial statements. This was the information that was presented to you previously, and now it's finalized.
Any questions? Motion, please.
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
From the audit, the 16-17 external corrective action plan, and Nancy wanted me to mention that they are very small corrected requirements because we're doing a great job.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
E, contract with Julie Berger as presented to mentor new administrators for the 17-18 school year at $450 per day, not to exceed 10 days or $4,500 as presented.
Any discussion? Motion, please.
To not to exceed 10 days, so that's between how many administrators are we talking? She's
One elementary,
just one.
Just one for Julie.
So then she gets 10 days of a mentorship, and that's what.
And it doesn't have to be full days. They might decide on half days. That administrator might just consult with Julie, and she's going to keep her time and submit it to Carrie, and up to 10 full days throughout the school year. But it doesn't have to be in chunks of half or full days. And our experience has been with Julie and other consultants, Linda Stuman, for example. We hire her for 1 day a week, and she's at another 4 days. So we're not so much concerned about the amount of time, but we had our obligations to put a cap on the amount because there's a budget go through Carrie. I think that Jenny has a great relationship with Julie already, and that was a relationship we wanted to continue. Julie was the interim principal at Meadow, and they had transition time, and they were interested in continuing their relationship. No reflection on Jenny. We provide mentoring services for all our probationary administrators, and I'm sorry I called her out on that. But it's for the sustainability of great new educational leaders.
And mentoring is a requirement for, just like for new teachers. So new administrators get mentored in that same way.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, items from board members.
Just one thing, I don't know, Dr. Roy, did you mention that the girls volleyball was playing in regional on Saturday?
No, I didn't. I mentioned their
Right?
second degree.
They're playing Saturday, this Saturday, coming up at CNS at noon.
That's regional.
That's the reason. Who are they playing, Linda?
It's not determined yet. It
Okay.
might be Burnt Hills, it's whoever's the winner of Burnt Hills.
Messina, right? Burnt Hills, Messina?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just have a couple things. I know Scott was here earlier, but we had got the memo that the Oswego High School Band Parents Association, I think Sam, you said you went to that, I don't know who else was there, but they were granted the $10,000.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because I
Yes.
forgot to put it on.
And from Exelon as being recognized as a not-for-profit that makes a difference in our students' lives. So I just wanted to recognize that, because that was pretty awesome
Yeah.
that they got that. The other thing I want to thank the was, some of us went to the Oswego County School Board Association's social and networking event at the Ice House. Jim and I and Sam and Brandon and Brian, and it was a neat event to be able to see, and meet other board members. Again, last year Linda did too, and meet the superintendents and the school boards and just network and hear what other people are doing. And so I thank all of you who went to that. We talked about volleyball. We talked about going through my whole list. I wanted to also thank, in addition to Jim, also Tom and Tracy Kells. They do an annual Halloween haunted hayride, and it's like an extravaganza. They've gone every year and missed it this year for the first time. But what they decided to do this year, they do it all at their own expense. It's huge. I have no idea how much money gets spent on. I can't even imagine. However, this year what they decided to do was ask for donations when people came onto the property, and then they donated that entire amount, which exceeded $600, to the Buck Boosters. So I wanted to thank them. Great example of just community members stepping up and giving back to our school district. And the only other thing I want to say is I wanted to thank for I love the presentations that you've been doing. I think that's very helpful. It's a lot for us to take in all of this stuff, so it's kind of nice to take a step back and have, these presentations, whether Nancy did the financial and tonight with the special ed, it's just a lot. So I think it's great to be able to conversationally go through all of that. So I guess with that, I just wanted to say to your board members, think about if there's something else in particular that you would like to learn more about or have a discussion on or would like. Because like Dean said, when we meet on the Friday before the board meeting, if one of you said, geez, I'd like to have a discussion on,
Nursing service.
yeah, something, then, you could let us know, and then we can get that on the agenda, and we can have that presentation or that discussion or whatever, but then that's more input from,
We have a pretty robust calendar of presentations taking us through the rest of the year, but feedback from what you'd like to see. The purpose of this is to bring awareness to not only elements of the agenda, but great things that are happening in the district. So I appreciate that feedback. The other thing is, though, that we've been having our presentations on the first board meeting of the month, which also is the meeting that's hosted by the school, and maybe it's too much on one night, so maybe we'll shift our presentations to the second meeting, do the building tours and presentations on the first meeting, and then tonight that was coupled with the executive session, which had us here long. Yep.
Just to remind you that Thursday night, the Bellis at Oswego High School is hosting the STEM night. So, great opportunity for our students at 6:30 at the high school.
That's the thing that you emailed me about.
Yeah, 6:30 at the high school.
Yeah, we got that promoted too, Brian.
So that goes, did that like on our webpage, Facebook
Yep.
page and all that? And I know that Mr. Wallace, has sent it like through Jupiter Grace, yes.
Oh, the other thing that I might want to add, another thing that I forgot during the superintendent report. Patrick, would you just talk about Thursday a little bit? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Thursday morning, Kate Thornton from Channel 9 is going to do a feature at Oswego High School in her school segment. She's going to start at 4:45 in the morning to do a weather report outside on the Oswego steps of the theater. And she's going to feature 3 different student groups. One is the Oswego County Youth Academic League team. And second is the girls volleyball team. And the third is the Marching Buccaneers. So the students are going to get up early that day. They're very excited. They're advised the coach, the volleyball coach is excited. Everybody's excited, and so it's being recorded live, so you can watch it on TV as it's happening. So I put out a messenger to the district to let them know that, And it's just a neat thing that's gonna happen.
And that's this Thursday?
This Thursday coming up.
So Thursday morning, watch Channel 9 News starting at 7 a.m. Actually, earlier than that.
Right, so you're gonna start at 4:45.
Yeah, let me know how it is with that.
And then I've arranged breakfast pizza for the kids after they've done all that.
Patrick worked with James to make sure to get food for the students that are coming.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice event.
I always watch that, so that's
Yeah.
And so Pat will send a link out to everybody afterwards.
So we're looking for a board
So
rep.
that you can watch it if you weren't able to see it at 4:45.
Yeah. Well, that's when she's gonna start. Different groups are gonna be at, during the morning, it's gonna be 5, 4, and
Yeah, I always watch it.
so.
I love it.
They film the different bits, like they show some live, some in a loop,
Yeah,
some.
okay.
And she's saying, she wants to play volleyball with the girls team. So she's played volleyball. She
Oh,
wants
that's great.
I nominate Brandon to be the board
Actually,
rep.
you just made me think, when looking at both you and Rhonda back there, I just wanted to say one other thing, that, and this is not just me, although I feel the same feeling as well, but I hear it from parents everywhere that I go. The fact that, and again, too, this is, I'm not excluding anybody, it's just I have kids of a certain age who are involved in certain things. So I see certain administrators and people at events and on a regular basis, and it would be like Mr. Wallace, I see every game or every high school, I mean, everything I go to, you're there, and the parents are talking about it. They're like, wow, this is so cool. It has such a great feeling of community, to see you there. And the same thing would go for Rhonda. And again, I really am not, hoping I'm not making anyone feel excluded, but like I said, this is just me from my perspective and where I am. And that you're at every game, and that you're talking to the parents, and you're engaged. And again, the community is talking, the parents are talking, and just like, wow, this is so great that we have people who are so involved and caring, or like even at the 5K run, and Mary Beth was there at Faro, and she was, handing out pizza to kids. So it's just, I think things like that, I know all of you are out there and doing things, and it's just so appreciated by the kids notice it, the parents notice it, and it's really an awesome feeling to be in a community that all of you are so invested in. So I just wanted to make sure I said thank you to all for what you do. Appreciate it.
At this time, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. You may adjourn.